Call Haloim Yahweh, Bahasham, Hamashak Yahweh Shai, Barakatham. Shalom. This is your fellow servant Tazawar from the GMS Orlando camp, here with another lesson. And first I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, whom rule well, and from whom we learn this truth. Shalom to Yakim who are not in GMS, but are pushing likewise doctrine in spirit and in truth with all sincerity. To you few sisters that are listening and learning, as well as you speckled birds who are scattered among the nations, looking like those nations. To the 144,000 elect men and the rest of the hopeful elect, to you I say, Shalom. This is another installment of Hebrew Conduct. And this will probably be brief. All right. But at any rate, I believe the last installment of Hebrew Conduct had to do with being decent and in order, if I'm not mistaken. Or I did one not too long ago going into that. Well, how does one get to the state of being in order? All right. And, as men, especially when you fresh, when you new in this thing, you fresh out of the world, most people are, how can I say? They lack social and emotional intelligence. Okay. And the thing about the scriptures is when you start to apply the scriptures to your life, you become a well-rounded individual. And as men, we have to learn how to control our spirit. Right? We have to learn how to bridle our wrath and our tongue. Okay? So this lesson will be going into that. Being long-suffering or being able to put a damper on your wrath, because as men coming out, in the world, and then us coming out of that, one of the things that we have practiced doing, or one of the emotions that's easily expressive for most men, is frustration or anger. Right? And a lot of men express that frustration with high intensity. All right? It's an intense expression of anger. This is why when people do wickedness or stupid shit, they call or commit crimes in wrath, they're called crimes of passion. Okay? But one has to learn how to curb that spirit. All right? So when you're dealing amongst, especially when you're dealing amongst brothers, now this should spill over into every aspect of your life. If you got a rib that you're dealing with, your children, all right, you come across some asshole in the world that just is hell bent on stealing your joy, as they say, right? That's really a test from Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? And it gives you a measure, a ruler, right? It gives you a staff of measurement so you can measure your growth in this thing. But before I get to rambling, let's go ahead and get into some scriptures. Let's grab James, all right, the first chapter. And (19). All right. And it reads, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let not every man be swift to Salakia. Let me start over. This is James 1:19. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not righteousness of Yahweh." All right. So the wrath of man does not work righteousness of Yahweh. All right. That's pretty plain. And we should practice these things first and foremost amongst brethren, where it says, "Let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak." That should be common practice when you're amongst the body, right? That starts with having some decorum and a moniker of etiquette about yourself, right? I went into that in the previous rendition of Hebrew conduct, all right? About when men speak, you should listen. You should hold your peace. You should hold your tongue. Okay? And when a man speaks, it really doesn't matter his rank. Okay? Even kings let servants speak when there was time to, or their subordinates, their subjects. Of course, the king got first honor of speaking. But again, when a man speaks, another man should listen. That's common. That should be common practice. All right. And in the world, people understand that because things can turn violent very quickly when disrespect abounds. Right? So to not put yourself in a position, okay, to let evil enter in, it's good to have these type of habits, behavioral habits and traits. All right. Let's grab Proverbs. Let me go at 14. And 29. And it reads, "He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly." All right. Hasty of spirit. I'm going to read that in the NLT. And it reads, it says, "People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness." Right? Now, obviously, there's a time and a place for everything, right? So saith the scriptures. Solomon says there's a time for everything, right? There's a time for war, there's a time for peace, there's a time for laughter and joy, and then there's a time for, to be serious. But when you dealing with people, you have to constantly discern their spirit. All right. Check and engage where that person's spirit or temperament is. And then you move accordingly. That's how you show great understanding. Now, sometimes you just got to handle business, but you do everything in your power on your end, to kind of curb those situations. All right. And again, amongst brethren and amongst the body in general, this really should be something that's understood and doesn't have to be spoken on. And this lesson isn't geared towards any brother in particular, right? But I know myself personally, when I was coming out of the world, I had a very high temper. I was ready all the time. All right. Just, my background, how I came up, everything. When these things shape you, your life experience shape you into a certain way. Right. And most of us had, we had that shortcoming where we let the world shape us instead of having the knowledge of the scriptures shape us. So putting off that old man and putting on the new, right, means you have to change. You got to grow. You can't be the same Negro that you was in the world with just a little bit of knowledge and understanding of who you are as an Israelite. It gotta grow deeper than that. It's gotta be deeper than that. Right? Because now you are a representative of our nationality, of our nation. And if you're a member of GMS, you're a representative of this organization, man, of this church. First and foremost. Right? And knowing what times that we're in, knowing the times that we're currently in, the enemy and the powers that be will seize every opportunity to criminalize and demonize Israelites. And it doesn't matter their camp affiliation. That's irrelevant. Because Esau paints with a broad brush. So brothers have to keep that in mind. In a way where you get what you need, where brothers can pour into you and you get, spiritually fed. You get your spiritual exercise. You get rebuke if need be. You get admonished. You get encouragement amongst the body first. Right? That way, when you leave the body, when we meet, when you leave and go back into the world, you're better equipped with the tools to handle all the fuckery that come with being in Babylon the Great, being a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American Indian in Babylon the Great. Because we all know that comes with its own set of problems, its own set of challenges. right? You're not given the same passes as a Elamite, right? A so-called East Indian, or a Ammonite, or a Moabite, a Japanese or Chinese, especially if you're a man, right? Those are considered the less threatening, acceptable, quote unquote, minorities, right? Why? Because they've drinking the wine, man. They've taken hold on Esau's customs and they've accepted. This is why when they move about, you know, they're not wearing their own cultural garments and speaking their own language. Right? Now, of course, you don't go in the world and put a target on your back. You have to move in wisdom in all aspects. And that's first thing is to learn how to control your spirit. All right? Tame that wrath. And a lot of us have reasons, and good ones, to be angry. We do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we don't. We have good reasons to be angry. Not just from all the shit that we've inherited from the generations before us in this captivity, but even the things that we've gone through on a personal level, man. Right? Let me see something. Yeah, we'll do this. It says, this is Proverbs 16 and 32. I'm going to grab Ephesians next. I believe that's what I want. But he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Right? And he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Okay? I'm going to read that in the NLT. It says, better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than to conquer a city. All right? Christians have this saying, I'm more than a conqueror, right? Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? These proverbs that they have, you can't let them hold sole ownership of things that are beneficial to the body. Like, let go and let God. Yeah, we know to put things in Yahweh's hands, right? We should be speaking these things more than anybody, being more than a conqueror. We know that ultimately it's not in our lot to fight. All right? It's not in our lot to fight on a carnal level. We spiritually fight. Like our Lord and Savior. All right? Hamashiach Yahushai, man. All right? He could have called legions of armies. But he didn't. Because he said this is not his kingdom. So how much more the servants of Yahushai? Right? Because we know what? We battle not against flesh and blood. Right? But against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. Powers that have direct influence over the physical beings that you will encounter on a day-to-day basis. These entities have a grip, a spiritual grip on these people, man. That's in the world. So you got to realize when you're dealing with a demon, and that's going to be majority of the time. All right. But ruling his spirit, you have to rule your spirit. I'm going to read that again. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Okay. Now, as I was saying, we do have good reason to be pissed off. The scriptures say, let me see if I'm right on this. Yeah, I'm right. This is Ephesians 4 and 26. And it reads, be ye angry and sin not. All right. Be ye angry and sin not. So we have good reason to be angry. But again, when you really do a deep dive in this thing and you have some understanding, yeah, we know Esau the fucking devil. Of course, nobody's denying that. Well, except your Ron Dalton's and that bugged out lot. All right. But those that have the true gospel, this is a easy understanding. Esau's the devil that the scriptures speak of. All right. He's an adversary. But we the ones that broke the covenant. So you got to look at Jake first, man. And the 2/3 that we encounter every day in our everyday life throughout the week before we get to have the escape of meeting with the Akim, the 2/3 are a reminder of that. And then when you go beyond that, you have to realize that, look, all of this, when you dive deeper, all of this was according to the plans of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. Every last detail. Because the scriptures say that a sparrow, a bird don't fall out the sky without Yahweh knowing it. And it should really be a sparrow don't fall out the sky without Yahweh sanctioning it, without his permission. Because he's the source of all life. Every spirit or every vessel, right, is borrowing the spirit that that the Creator gave. All right. Through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Through Yahweh Shai, man. Through Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. And you have to know that. You have to know that in this walk. And pray that whatever part that you play, right, is for the good. Ephesians 4 and 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Right? And that's what I'm saying. So when you discern in spirits, right? When you encounter people, you have to do your best to mitigate all conflict resolution skills, what they used to call it when you're growing up, at least in my generation, right? Gen X and the early millennials, we had to learn that. We wasn't in front of no screen all the time. All right, you might go out there, exchange words with somebody. It come down to y'all exchanging blows. You go knock his head off, or he knock your head off, or maybe y'all fight for a week every day. Right? That's worldly shit. But how it was supposed to end, even in that time when you were young growing up, is you do that, and then you get up and you shake hands at the end, and it's a wrap. Y'all squash it. Well, now as men, we have to learn how to never get to the point where wrath abounds and blows are traded amongst brothers or other camps, because brothers ain't gonna have that fighting amongst the body. That's not gonna happen. But against other camps and all that, like, it should never get to that point. You should be able to just say whatever verbally. Nah, all right, well, hey, you go your way, we go ours. Peace be unto you. Right? And Lord willing, you repent. And that's it. They're squashing it. The elder brother Nahalia, right, the head of the camp, always says, when people speak on you and talk about you in the world, they should have a good report about you, even if they don't know that you're an Israelite, because that's how we should be moving in a day-to-day. Right? And whenever possible, you should always show a fellow Israelite, whether they are believers or not, you should always show them a little more grace than the heathen. Now, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you just get a straight nigga and you got to G-check that motherfucker, right? Sometimes it be like that. Sometimes you may come across somebody who may appear to be a heathen, but maybe they got the spirit of Jake on them. So again, that goes back into discerning of the spirits, right? And then you give grace where grace is due. Because we all received it. We all received it. We all living on grace now through Yahweh Shai. But before you became an Israelite, before you knew that the Lord gave you Isolve, somebody in your life that the Lord put his hand on that gave your ass grace when you probably should have had your head knocked on around the other side of your shoulders. Or maybe you did something where you wasn't even supposed to be here no more. Who knows? Whatever your journey is, whatever your story is or your background, right? You got to keep in mind that Yahweh put his hand on somebody to give your ass grace so you can make it this far in this life to where you could get the Isolve and receive the truth, where you could hear it and believe. And we got to move with that same energy. Now, of course, you don't be foolish and put yourself in a position where you can be, taken advantage of and used and manipulated. That's not what I'm saying. But at every turn, you should prefer the Akim. All right? Of everybody else. That's what it means to be part of the temple, man. Part of the body. Salaki, I done rambled. All right, I'm going to get one more. I'm going to close it out. This is Romans chapter 12. You know what? Before I read that, let me go back to I wasn't going to pull this one. Let me go back to Proverbs and 19, because everything I was speaking on is to mitigate folly, right? Where is it? Proverbs 19 and 11. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. All right? It's his glory to pass over a transgression. So though we're not glorified in this life on this side, because we're coming out of filthiness, right? And our righteousness is as filthiness, as a menstruous cloth. It's as filthy rags, right? And whatever you do anyway, whatever you set forth your hand to do should glorify Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai first and foremost. So when you have a moment, where somebody want to big up you or whatever, because you used the wisdom that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai gave you, and you was able to bypass worldly shortcomings, right? Bypass conflict, or use wisdom, right? Pass over a transgression, as the scriptures say. Hey, it should be called Haloim Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, because that glory is really not yours. But you call Haloim Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for him giving you the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the ability to apply it to your life. And the thing about it is, hindsight is 20/20. So the ability to apply it to your wisdom, to your life, in the moment, on your feet, that's really how you know when the Lord's dealing. But again, these things are practiced amongst the body first. And then you can take these virtues into the world, man. This is Romans, the 12th chapter. And '18, right? And it reads, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Okay? Verse 19, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. So that goes back to what I was saying. Just put it in the Lord's hands. Let go and let God, right? As the Christians say. We have to become masters at that. Because really, when it boils down to it, at the heart of that, right at the core of that, is trusting in the Lord. It's a simple statement, but it take work. All right, mortify thy flesh. Anyway, I pray this lesson finds you well. I pray that it was edifying. And until next time, Shalom. Wa Abba Babal. Shalak Mata Babal.